And no matter how much water there is in this film, it has set the internet on fire from the day it was announced. Welcome back, Disney fans. We have a brand new live action remake in theaters as Disney has decided to retell the story that started the Renaissance era in The Little Mermaid. I grew up with Disney's beloved classic. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. So the real question is it time for a new generation to grow up with a new version of this story? And if yes, does this version sink or swim?
Fool this man!
Huh? 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 Ariel, a mermaid forbidden to interact with the human world, longs to find out more about the world beyond the sea, and while visiting the surface falls for the dashing Prince Eric. But after making a deal with the evil sea witch Ursula, allowing Ariel a chance to experience life on Earth, she ultimately places her life and her father's crown in jeopardy. And no matter how much water there is in this film, it has set the internet on fire since the day it was announced, and that fire has not ceased with all the casting announcements and all the trailers. And as you can probably tell, it has been fun being on Twitter talking about this movie.
Wow, sarcasm. That's original.
And every single one of these Disney live-action remakes seems to have that effect on people to one level or the other, because they're touching on stories that mean a lot to so many people, stories that a lot of us grew up with. So as a frame of reference, it's important for me to tell you, one, that I like most of them. I love some of them, and there are a few I consider better than the original. Is The Little Mermaid one of them? I'll let you know later in this video. But two, I don't love the original Little Mermaid. I grew up with it, I understand the nostalgia, the power that it has for a lot of people, and it is a very important movie. It represented a shift for the better in Disney as a whole. But overall, is the new Little Mermaid any good? Yes, and a big reason for that is director Rob Marshall. He is just the right fit for these kinds of stories with classical fairy tale sensibilities. He is able to bring the magic, the wonder, the awe of these fantastical worlds to life with his theatrical and very musically driven style and sensibilities. And when you see the music numbers in this film, you see that on full display. These are big Broadway-style theatrical productions, but bringing these worlds to life, having us immerse in the adventure, in the underwater kingdom on this big island overseeing the ocean, and you're just brought into this world because he knows exactly how to convey that, mixing grounded elements that we can relate to with romance, with coming of age elements, and then all the fantastical magical elements that come with The Little Mermaid. And he does a great job capturing the underwater world in this film. The first hour or so in this film is underwater. The film is 50 minutes longer than the original, and so you have to stretch a few things out, which we'll also touch on later on in this video. But it looks great. The trailers did this movie no favors. It looks wonderful. It looks vibrant and colorful and magical in every way that I wanted it to. Does it look as good as Avatar: The Way of Water? No, but it doesn't look bad either. It's also not a movie that's trying to pretend to be something bigger than what it is. It's a classic fairy tale romance told with classic fairy tale sensibilities. And the director understands the kind of story he is telling. His performances that he gets out of his actors, very musically driven, very theatrical, And the best one of all is Halle Bailey as Ariel. I did not believe this casting. I was not looking forward to it because I'm just not a fan when singers come into becoming actors and lead a movie like right away. She is wonderful. She is able to play Ariel so naturally, effortlessly, conveying all the little details that we love about Ariel's personality, her innocence, her naivete, her curiosity, her go out and get it attitude. She has this wonderful, big eyed wonder look in her eyes constantly. And as you know, Ariel doesn't speak for a lot of this film, and she is able to convey all those emotions. She is able to allow you into her psyche just with her eyes, just with her body language. She absolutely stunned me with how good she is in this film. And obviously, the girl can sing. Part of Your World gets extended versions like encore, reprises versions to it, and it's just wonderful every time she gets to deliver this number. She just impressed me all around. Melissa McCarthy is eating it up as Ursula. She is awesome in the role. She is going full camp. She is going full over the top. Look at me. I'm the bad guy, and she has the best number. Usually, just Disney villains always have these great musical numbers. But Daveed Diggs as Sebastian, I really like him as well. He steals this film when it comes to the jokes. All the best jokes given to Sebastian, and the rest of the jokes we'll talk about it later when we get to issues in this film. However, the best element in this version of The Little Mermaid is something that it improves on from the original, and that is the romance of Ariel and Eric at its core. The romance has always been the driving force of the entire narrative, and in the original, I never came to care about it. It felt rushed, it felt abrupt, it felt like it didn't develop from A to the end. In this film, you're allowed to breed this romance in. It's allowed to flourish naturally between these characters because you get to know not only Ariel, and we already love her, she's bringing us into this world, but we get to know Eric a lot. We get to understand his passion, what he strives for, and we get to understand their views of the world, how they align, how they differ, and really what brings them together. What do they have in common that starts that spark that leads them to falling in love with one another naturally and believably? The romance just develops in a way that feels grounded, and so it contrasts all the fantastical elements, and you believe this guy falling in love with this girl. But more importantly, because Eric now has a personality, he even gets an I Want song all for his own. You believe Ariel falling in love with him, and the time they get to spend together, and the time you get to spend seeing them connecting with one another, even though Ariel cannot speak. And that feels powerful. That is compelling. They have charm. Their chemistry is off the charts. It's truly unbelievable. Again, because a lot of time Halle Bailey cannot speak a word. And so it really works and makes you invested through really the most interesting part of the film when Ariel gets out of the ocean, goes to land, and starts developing this romance. So that is a vast improvement on the story in the original because you get so much more time in the film as a whole. A lot of that time is dedicated to the romance. But did you need that much more time? That's another conversation entirely. And because you have like 50 minutes or even an hour more than in the original, because the film runs at 2 hours and 15 minutes, by the end, it starts to drag. And in this Disney live action remakes, it's always tricky, like to know what is a spoiler, what isn't. I'm not going to spoil anything new that is added to this film, but I will speak about plot points that are in the original, and we all know it's part of the Little Mermaid story. And a lot of little small changes to certain details are found in the last 15 minutes of the film or so, and they kind of contradict the point of the story. It just feels like they were changes mandated so not to be too similar to the original, because a lot of people complain about that. And because they change all these little things, you start to think about it, but it just feels like they're overcomplicating the narrative. Also, while the world in general looks wonderful, there are two instances with Ursula. One is early on, it's just a one shot while she's swimming around, and another one is in the final battle. I did not like what they decided to do there on a certain aspect, and that's all I can say, but it really got in the way of me just enjoying that awesome final battle in the film. And also, you have to talk about Ariel's friends in Flounder, Scuttle, and Sebastian. The V-Diggs is awesome. Sebastian is really funny, where in the original, I always found him to be a lesser Zazu. In here, they decided to go with realistic animal designs, and while they really did some extra work on Sebastian's eyes to be more expressive, more animated, more over the top, while the design is a realistic crab design, Scuttle and Flounder just do not work. Flounder is kind of just there in the movie sometimes. You could take him out and it would have made no difference. And Scuttle, I just did not like this character. I did not care for the original Scuttle, but in here, voiced by Awkwafina, and it feels like Awkwafina was just allowed to do some freestyle. I don't need that. It wasn't funny, it didn't work, and it got in the way of the film. She even gets a rap, and it just doesn't flow. It comes out of nowhere. It feels so abrupt, and the rap itself isn't really that good or funny. That's because it's an original song. Overall, the original songs in this film, they are good songs, but they just feel unneeded to tell the story in this film. Those small changes I was talking about later in the film that just overcomplicate the narrative they're trying to tell, these songs are just saying too much instead of showing us. Even Prince Eric's song, good song, but it's just overcomplicating it too much to where it feels like he's half-assing it until he goes up an octave in the last bit. And that feels epic. That feels grand. Also, Ariel gets new songs, and Halle Bailey has a magical voice, but it takes away a bit of the struggle when Ariel can't speak, and we need to be led into her psyche a bit more, and we're hearing this song. They make it clear it's inside her head, but it just doesn't work. It feels unneeded. It feels overbearing, and it's a shame that these good songs weren't injected better into the narrative of the film. And there are times early on before Ariel makes a deal and goes to the human world where, because they have to stretch this out, it just feels like they're dragging certain things. It just feels a little bit clunky. So while overall, I think the longer runtime benefited the most important element of the story, we might not have needed so much runtime. I mean, you could have cut 10 minutes of this film, shave a little here and there, and it would have worked so much better. But overall, The Little Mermaid improves on a lot of my issues of the original. So, is it better than the original? I think it's on par, because it fixes so many of my issues with that original, but it brings a lot of other issues onto its own. And while the original is an animation classic with wonderful songs, gorgeous visuals, and really the highlight of a Disney era that it started, the brand new Little Mermaid has the same wonderful songs, and it fixes that romance and a lot of Ariel's motivations, and really her characterizations feel richer. So, as I dive into my final thoughts on Disney's 2023 The Little Mermaid, it's time for you to start the conversation in the comments below with your thoughts on this version of The Little Mermaid, the original, and how you rank the Disney live action remakes, anything and everything down there. And if you're enjoying this review, I reviewed so many of the Disney live action remakes right here on this playlist. Many hot takes on that one. And if you just want to talk more movies and TV, this is the place to be. So consider clicking that subscribe button, and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. While the new songs do not work, and the longer it goes, the more it drags, The Little Mermaid improves on the core relationship of Ariel and Eric. It's able to breathe and flourish, with both characters being compelling, sweet, and charming, Bailey is absolutely magical as Ariel in a bright and visually stunning retelling of the classic romance. Overall, it's a win for live action Disney remakes. I'm giving The Little Mermaid a B minus. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Tell me in the comments what is your favorite and least favorite Disney live action remake. I cannot wait to see the hot takes, and big shout out to my channel members for always supporting the channel. I'll be back very soon with more videos, so until the next one, love each other and love the movies.